Hello, welcome to Revelator Alpha. Hope you're all well. So this live show, another impromptu live show, I'm going to be talking about Harley Davidson parts supply shortages, and I've got a video coming about this in a while, but I thought I'd talk about it in a more broader sense and talk about your experiences first of all, really, and see, try and get a feeling of what people are experiencing out there. Is it really that much of an issue? Are people having to wait just a short period of time or a long period of time? And fundamentally, what can be done to fix it? But first of all, I'd just like to say, thanks for everybody who's watching, all the subscribers who are watching, and also the new viewers as well. I hope you're enjoying the channel and all the different aspects to it. I am trying to make the channel into more of a magazine flavor, in that bringing lots of content, lots of different topics, lots of different articles, all based around motorcycle themes, of course. So, that's why there's lots and lots of content, because it's almost like a traditional bike magazine, which I've just bought here, by the way, here in the UK, but maybe that's a discussion for another day. But say thanks for all the viewers, thanks for all the support for the channel as well, and the great comments that are getting, and the emails as well, and the messages. Thanks for all the support in terms of super chats, the super stickers that you can leave at the bottom of the chat page, or you can watch at the end of the video later. You can do that super thanks as well, and you can see it all at the bottom of the screen there, or you can go via the website, and just helps to improve and evolve the channel as well. So anything you can do, that's very much appreciated. But today's topic is all about Harley Davidson parts supply shortages, but also general automotive part supply shortages, because obviously we know these supply chain issues. It's the buzzword, isn't it? And those producing raw materials, depending on where they are in the world, they might be too expensive to produce or to mine, or whatever the term is now, and so it's created a knock-on effect, not only in terms of wars and local conflicts. I'm not just talking about Ukraine, but other parts of the world as well, but also how different regions are acting, and how they are controlling in many ways the price of this. And fuel prices have gone up as well. So there's a huge reason why parts supply issues have become a thing here. And supply chains have been affected, and we know that it's common knowledge, or common discussions on the internet, but also in the news as well. But what I want to talk about particularly is the relationship, or the difference between Harley Davidson and other motorcycle manufacturers. And whilst they're all having similar kinds of issues right now, other motorcycle manufacturers have not had the same kinds of problems that Harley Davidson have had pre-COVID and pre the wars, let's say, because this has been going on for a long time. So let us know in the comments below, and also join in the live chat as well. Let us know your experiences, or the stories that you've heard as well. How long you've been waiting for parts, how long have you been waiting for service items, that kind of thing. Because fortunately or unfortunately, I get to hear this a lot. People send me their horror stories, via email, via the website, a lot. They tell me, the problems that they have. Now, it could be, as I say, I always hold up my hand here. It could be that I'm getting a warped view of this, in that people, they may latch on to the fact that sometimes I'm making balanced content, and sometimes I'm talking about issues that maybe some people don't want to hear, let's say. In terms of Harley Davidson, of course. So they think, right, well, I'm going to send you my story as well. But, I may not get people sending me stories of they had issue, or they were able to get parts straight away, no problem. So before I dig into the negativity, let's say, let me just lay my cards on this table and say, for any time I've needed a part that was a Harley Davidson part for my motorcycle, right? The Sport Glide, the Softail, for the most part, they've either had them on the shelf, or they've it's been very quick to get within a couple of weeks. It hasn't been that time critical because I could still ride the bike. Or I think there was one time that I had to wait a few weeks for the instrument module to be changed. But again, it wasn't really that much of an issue because I was still riding around. So I've never had a massive delay in getting parts, and I've also never had a situation where I've not been able to ride the bike because I'm waiting on parts. So that is absolutely my experience. I've had no problems at all. However, then this comes the negative part, right? There are lots of people who do have issues, and I hear this all the time. And when it's major problems, this is where people have problems with the dealerships or the company, not only being able to get the parts, but also wanting to do the work or even acknowledging that there's a problem. Now, let's just say, for example, the oil pump issues with the soft tails. For a long time, the company and dealerships, let's say, but more like the company, didn't want to recognize there was a problem with the M8 oil pumps, the earlier versions, and oil sumping and oil transfer and fluid transfer, that kind of thing. And it took a while for the dealerships to keep on reporting these cases to the company for them to kind of begrudgingly acknowledge it. And I suppose this is the same in all automotive industry, in that they're not really going to want to have to do recalls and things like that, because that's going to cost them a lot of money. Now, interestingly, with the oil pump issue on the M8 Softails, I don't think they ever did a recall. In fact, they didn't do a recall. However, in subsequent model years, they upgraded the oil pump as well. So those early M8s, the 2018s and the 2017s, 2018s and 2019s, I think some of them as well, they've got the we'll put it in inverted commas, the inferior oil pump, and the subsequent years have got a better oil pump. Now, this is why if you update and do an upstage and you're going to, change your cam or something like that, and you change your plate, you might as well upgrade the oil pump if you haven't already got one upgraded anyway, to allow for better oil circulation. But again, if you're going for Harley Davidson parts, you might have to wait a certain amount of time for it. Not a problem if you're still riding your bike. However, if your bike is broken for whatever reason and you can't ride your bike because you have to wait for a part, it is a problem. It is a problem for people. And I just wonder whether riders of other motorcycle brands, they have had this problem, in that, let's just say I don't know, there's an engine problem, right? And you, regardless if it's in warranty, out of warranty, that's another subject, and that's a side issue, if you know what I mean. But let's say it's just about getting the parts. So your dealership says to you, or whoever's working on your bike, whether it's an independent garage, to say, right, it's going to take us a week to get your parts. We're going to have to get your hold your bike for a week. You're like, okay, yeah, fine, it is what it is. But how many other dealerships in this case in particular say to you, do you know what, it might take 3-4 weeks, 2 months, 3 months, or they even say to you, we don't know when we're going to be able to get this part. Now, I would imagine in recent times, let's say, that probably might be more prevalent. That might happen more and more. But Harley Davidson have been doing this for I wouldn't say a long time, but they've been doing it for a while. So let us know your thoughts. Let us know, where you are. I can see there's a few people watching. Let us know where you are. If you can hear me, okay. The stories that you've heard as well. Is it different in different regions? I know here in Europe, there are differences in parts availability, motorcycle availability as well, where they're all delivered to, and then how they're shipped out. So the dealerships, just like in the United States or Canada or any other part of the world, they have limited stock, let's say, because you can't expect them to hold masses and masses of stock. You might have a dealership chain so that they can get parts from each other within the chain of dealerships, or they might get parts between different dealerships or under different ownership, let's say, and so they start doing deals with each other and say, look, hey, Bert, have you got an oil pump? And they say, yeah, Steve, I've got an oil pump, but have you got a swing arm? That kind of thing. And then they kind of get the parts that way. So there's always parts floating around. I'm talking Harley Davidson specific parts here, okay? I'm not talking about anything else. But it's when you're having to wait, when these parts just aren't available, or let's say your dealership doesn't seem to be able to find the parts for you, okay? And I emphasize this because there are quite a few times where people have said to me, and I've experienced this myself, when there was one particular part which they couldn't get, and I was able to get it quicker elsewhere, right? It cost me more money, but I was able to get it quicker. Okay, was that that they say, oh, we can't get this part, or it's going to take 2 months, 3 months, 5 months, whatever it is, a few weeks, whatever it is, and then you think, crikey, whatever. And I say, well, okay, if I have to, but then you go home and you get on the old internet and do Google searches, and you start searching for this part, and you say, oh no, that dealership over there's got it, or that dealership over there's got it. You phone them up and you say, look, can I have this part? And they say, yeah, okay, fine. And where do you live? Okay, can you come pick it up? No. Can you send it to me? All right, it might be extra for the shipping. All right, yeah, fine, it is what it is. But okay, you pay extra, but at least you've got that part. So sometimes the reliance on you going to the dealership and asking them, they might be operating within their own little bubble, let's say, and then they're going directly to the parts supply hub of Harley Davidson, wherever that is in the world, and they're trying to get their parts from there. Or they might try and go to the nearest dealerships, let's say, if they've got any kind of working relationship with them. But most will kind of wash their hands of it, and if they can't find that part initially, I'm sure they try their best. I'm not saying they don't, but that doesn't stop you as an individual being able to try and find a part yourself if you're looking specifically for a Harley Davidson. Now, of course, if you are wanting just to change your parts on your bike, let's just say it's not grounded, it's broken for whatever reason, and you can change that part for an aftermarket part, and it's available, then yeah, you might be able to do that. But again, it comes down to parts availability. And also, do you want to put aftermarket parts on your bike? You may be reluctant to put aftermarket parts on your bike because it may affect warranty. Now, this is bearing in mind that the FTC in the United States have just come down on Harley Davidson for making this kind of saying that if you put aftermarket parts on your bike, then it's going to void a warranty, or if you use independent garages to do work on your bike, it's going to void the warranty and everything. That hasn't yet been finalized, and Harley Davidson haven't responded to that yet because they still have to go through 30 days. But this could be a real thing. And also Harley Davidson as a company and also as a dealership might still say to you as an individual, no. If you do that, then we can't guarantee that it's not going to affect any other part of the bike. Therefore, we can't, they may say to you, whilst there is a ruling, we still can't guarantee that, and we don't know what's going to happen with this FTC ruling, or if it will affect the other parts of the bike. Therefore, we're really not sure. So what I'm saying is, this might put the fear into you to say, or might question, well, do I really need to put an aftermarket part on? This could be a problem. So therefore, and also if it's in warranty, of course, then you're going to say, well, actually, I don't want to put an aftermarket part on. I want you to fix this. I want this to be fixed in whichever way that you can, and put your Harley parts on. So then you're saying, right, okay, I need to get a Harley Davidson parts, whatever it is, whether it's stock parts or Screaming Eagle parts or something like that. But if you can't get them, then what's going on? If there's no parts available, then you hear horror stories. You hear horror stories out there from people who are waiting weeks and weeks with their motorcycle at the dealership, in the shop, as it were, and they just waiting. And also they're waiting and waiting, and nobody's contacting them. Nobody's, picking up the phone, and nobody's keeping them in the loop. And this is probably one of the most frustrating things in any situation, Okay, in any situation where you are wanting an answer or you are wanting some kind of clarification on something in any facet of your life, right? And then you're not being communicated with on a regular basis or not given updates on a regular basis, or people just don't seem to think that actually this situation is affecting you, but we're not giving you information that might make you understand a bit better, might clarify the situation a bit better, or it might make you feel a bit better about the situation. Whilst you're still not getting your bike fixed in this case, but at least you understand, keeping you in the loop, as it were. And this is a major problem for people. If their bikes are not being able to be fixed, they're having to wait, and they can't get the parts. They don't want to go elsewhere because regardless of FTC rulings and all that sort of stuff, they're not too sure. But also at the same time, they're thinking, well, actually, regardless of FTC ruling and what the government says, this is a Harley Davidson and a dealership issue. They need to fix it, and they're going to have to fix it under warranty, and they're only going to fix it under warranty with their stock parts. And because I don't want to pay anything, they have to pay for it. But if those parts aren't available, and then your bike is in limbo for a few weeks and nobody's talking to you, you can see how the frustration and the anger and the animosity and the bad feeling spreads like wildfire out there in the internet world, let's say. And yes, I know people do like to jump on these things, and they do like to, have a bit of a moan. I get that. But if this happens to you, then you're going to feel quite aggrieved, aren't you? So, this is a common thing that's happened with Harley Davidson. But how could they fix it? How can they fix this situation? Well, first of all, they have in recent years changed the way they operated with their parts supply. And they've changed the way they distribute their parts as well. And in terms of as a corporate structure, whilst at the coal face, it doesn't seem as if they've changed anything. Behind the scenes, they've kind of changed quite a bit. But they must have made, I don't have any evidence to support this, but they must have made some massive errors here, or there must have been some big problems, because this is pre-COVID and this is always going on. Okay. So what's the problem? So you hear some conspiracy theories out there where they've deliberately not supplied as many parts to keep that demand up, keep that interest up. The problem is, by doing that, they've also created this kind of frustration where people are, wouldn't it be great? Wouldn't it be great if, whatever bike you've got, whatever manufacturer you've got, BMW, Triumph, Moto Guzzi, whatever, Honda, Suzuki, whatever it is, right? And Harley Davidson, you have a problem with your bike, and you go to a parts supplier or a dealership and say, problem with my bike, and they say, I need a new, I need a new piston, let's say, all right? And they say, yep, here you go, here's that new piston. Wouldn't that be great? Wouldn't that be amazing? If it's just there, instant. Or they say, you know what? Hold on, let me just say, we don't have it in stock here, but we can have it here by tomorrow. Actually, no, sorry, day after tomorrow. And you say, well, yeah, all right, fair enough. That'll work for me. A couple of days here, bish bash bosh, done. Or you take your bike into the dealership, service center, and they'll say, hey, Mr. Jones, yeah, I'm afraid it's worse than we thought. We're gonna have to sort this out. Your bike is the engine's kiboshed, basically. Guess what? We're gonna have to. It's the big end that's gone. Right? You think, oh crikey, big end. Here we go. How much is this going to cost me? Don't worry, Mr. Jones. This is all under warranty. And you know what? We can get a big end for you by it's come. Actually, we don't have one in the UK, but we've got one in Europe, or we haven't got one in the USA, but there's one in Canada. We can get it here by in 3 days time. And by the time we've stripped it down and fixed it, actually in the meantime we'll start breaking down the engine, and then when it arrives we just quickly put it back in, bish bash bosh, done, and then you'll have your bike back, I would say within 5 days. And you'll go, my God, that service, that's amazing. That service, that is exactly what you want. Now, this is what we want, isn't it? This is what we want as a consumer, to say, okay, there's a problem. They acknowledge it, they find a solution, and it's done very, very efficiently. That's what you want. Okay. What you don't want is to have a Harley Davidson dealership or Suzuki dealership or whatever it is, and they say to you, well, I'm not sure if it is a problem. I'm not sure if it's our problem. Well, I'm not sure what you're going to do that. Well, I'm not sure. Well, yeah. Oh, okay. We're going to have to investigate this. Oh, well, okay. We'll have to look at that. Okay. Oh, parts. We're not sure if we're going to be able to get the parts. Oh, crikey. Oh, it's going to be a long delay on the parts. Oh, we don't know why there's a delay. Oh, we don't know. Oh, God, that's an age-old question, isn't it? Everybody's kind of washed their hands of it. Everybody's thought, do you know what? We're not, it's not our problem, but it is. It is your problem, because I'm saying it's your problem as a customer. This is affecting me. My bike is broken. I need the parts to fix it. I come to you as the official outlet of this parts supply for this motorcycle, and you can't supply me with parts because the company is not supplying you with parts, because the system is broken in some way. What the hell is going on? This is the issue, isn't it? Let's get into some of these comments here. Before I start bursting a blood vessel here. Ruling was that Harley can't avoid warranty. Let's see what happens next. Yes, that was the ruling, but they had a 30-day consultation period where Harley Davidson come back. They haven't answered that, but you're absolutely right. They're absolutely right. They're saying they can't avoid that warranty. If you're waiting on genuine parts for weeks, what happens to the length of your warranty? You can't use the bike while it is in the dealer, so they should extend the warranty by the time. No, I don't think they do. That's the problem as well. That is the problem. And people can have parts fitted to the bike, and they can have separate guarantees or warranties with the dealership. You can buy extended warranties and all that kind of stuff, but that's a separate issue. That's a separate issue. The point is, why are they having to wait long periods of time? Because the parts are not there. And it's a very simple one for me here. To fix this problem. Okay. Because you could argue, well, everybody needs a part. Well, you basically got to make more parts, and you've got to distribute them more, and your system to be able to get the parts has got to be improved. You've got to do better. You've got to do a lot better. You've got to hold more parts in stock. You've got to produce more. And, you can't just hold these parts back, but also you as a company and as dealerships, as your agents, let's say, you've got to be much, much quicker in being able to process these orders and, analyze problems and deal with issues. And this FTC ruling hopefully will help this out a lot. They will help this out a lot in that it will put the onus back on them to get the job done a lot sooner, and not try and contest it with the owners to say, well, you put aftermarket stuff on, or you've upstaged or whatever here, therefore it's going to void your warranty. And people are saying, well, no. Just give me, just supply the parts. Just do that. Now, let's just say, okay, this is where Harley Davidson or the dealerships, possibly more so than any other motorcycle manufacturer, because the amount of customization that goes on all bikes, but new bikes as well. They'll say, okay, right, we can't, something's wrong with your bike. You put aftermarket stuff on. Well, we're beholden to whatever aftermarket company that you've bought this off. So we can't get that part. You're going to have to get that part yourself, or it might be weeks and weeks and weeks until we can get that part. So it's not our problem. It's not a Harley Davidson problem. It's just we can't source those parts. So that's a separate issue, and that's got nothing to do with Harley Davidson. And I think sometimes people send me stories. They send me stories about, they couldn't get these parts. And so, well, I felt like saying, well, these aren't their parts. These are aftermarket parts. That's not Harley Davidson. Whether they fitted it or not, it's not their it's not their systematic problem. It's the problem with getting the parts from that particular company, right? But it is a problem if they say to you, do you know what, this is a Harley Davidson part and it needs replacing, but we can't replace it because we can't get the Harley Davidson part that is required for it. Now, we can say to you as a dealership to a customer, this part is available as an upgrade, Screaming Eagle upgrade, performance upgrade, or it's available as an after market, I don't know, whatever, SNS or whatever it is, but you will have to pay for that. You know, that is because it's not a like for like replacement. So you can either, and again, this is where they might have you over a barrel here a little bit, or you might end up paying for this because you say, well, because of the Harley Davidson shortage, or parts supply issues, let's say, we can't do this, and we might be able to get the parts for a few weeks. However, because we'll give you the aftermarket or the upgraded version, we have that in stock. We've got that in stock. You can have that, but it's going to cost you $1,000. So this is where people, you know, start hitting the roof and say, hold on a minute, well, I didn't come here to spend $1,000 or pounds or shekels or whatever it is. I want this fixed. And so, well, if you want it fixed with Harley Davidson parts, it's gonna take 6 or 7 weeks until we can get the part, or as soon as we can get the part. Right? Depends where you are in the world. Depends what the availability is. It depends how much digging they can get on. It depends, you know, if you can try and get the part yourself as well. All that kind of stuff. Right? So there, you know, there is this issue. So how do they sort this out? How do Harley Davidson as a company sort that out? And let us know your thoughts as well. Let us know your thoughts. What you think they can do. Well, yeah, obviously the obvious thing is that supply more parts. Sort out your parts supply system. You know, work harder in not producing your bikes, let's say, but producing a much more robust system of parts supply to your dealerships, within amongst dealerships, within countries, within the supply hubs that feed those countries, and also from you as a company as well. So, you know, it can be done. And you question why it hasn't already been done. That don't, you know, and I don't want to hear from people saying that this is all COVID and this is all war in Ukraine, because as I've said, I keep on saying this time and time again, this has been happening before then. So this is an age-old problem. This has been going on for too long. So why? Why is there a problem with Harley Davidson parts? Well, okay. Do we have to do this? Do we have to say this? That actually maybe the problem with Harley Davidson parts, it's not, or parts supply, I should say, it's not that parts supply. It's just that we demand the parts a lot more because they keep on breaking a lot more than maybe they've just got exactly the same amount of parts in their supply chain as any other motorcycle manufacturer of the same size. Let's say, who's of a similar size? Kawasaki, I suppose. Yeah, I suppose Kawasaki is similar size, maybe Yamaha a bit bigger. Anyway, it's similar size. They're comparable size companies. Well, because maybe those companies or those motorcycles don't break down that often, then there isn't the requirement to have the parts. Maybe that is the issue. Maybe that's, we've been looking at this completely the wrong way. They shouldn't be keep on supplying more parts. They should just make better motorcycles, or motorcycles that don't need fixing or don't need upgrading or don't need, you know, that there's a culture where people are wanting to make these bikes their own and just improve them constantly, you know, over and over again. Maybe that's it. Maybe that's it. Maybe we have been looking at this, wrong. Ed, good morning. Good morning to you. How are you? One Take Adventures with Joel and Deb. Industry has been under this P1 must ship today, cause them to add extra manpower. They have ultimate excuse now. Yeah, supply chain. Now able to run skeleton crews and send profit to the bottom line. Look, I'm not, and I've talked about this as well in the past. With any business, okay, when they're trying to increase profits, the way you increase profits or profit margins, the number one thing that they do all the time is look at reducing costs. If they can reduce costs, and not affect their performance that much, but bring it down to as much, the bottom line as possible, they'll maximize their profits. So I've dealt with people this all the time. This is their number one criteria. You'll have middle management people who will say, right, I've got to show to my betters, my superiors, let's say, that I've increased performance profit margins, or I've reduced costs, and they don't care how this affects the people below them. They'll just say, right, I've just reduced the cost there, therefore, hey, I look really good. And I'm sure this is systemic within corporate culture, right? Middle management, corporate culture. This is kind of what happens all the time. Hello from South Africa. Hello there. How are you? And so the problems within the supply chain or producing parts, yeah, I mean, it could be down to their system and also the way they've cut that down, and they've reworked it and streamlined it so much that it's actually inefficient. It could be that it's inefficient, but it also could be inefficient for the amount of demand that is required on Harley Davidson motorcycles, because we need more parts, because parts are always breaking or whatever. Let's just talk about the Softails and the Taurus. Okay, let's just talk about those. Some common problems, right? Instrument modules steaming up, right? So any other motorcycle manufacturer would be like going, well, our instrument modules are, our instrument displays are absolutely fine. Okay, yeah, there's always going to be occasional ones that fail, and we've got those in stock, and we keep them in a central place. There might be like a box full of them in that supplies Europe or Asia or the Americas, let's say, and yeah, we've got them, but they hardly ever break. However, with Harley Davidson software, it's been a big thing. So people have been needing these more and more and more, and guess what? That puts a burden on them because they haven't been manufactured right in the first place. They haven't been manufactured right in the first place. Guess what? Where were they manufactured? That's what you got to ask your question. Where were they manufactured? I don't know. I have my suspicions, but I actually don't know. If you know where they're actually manufactured, let us know. But I don't know myself. So, there's a massive thing here. There's a massive frustration for people, and I hear it all the time. And yes, I know. I say it again. Whether it's warped thinking, and I always appreciate the comments that come in. I also appreciate the support, of course, that people give, and the comments that people make, and it all fuels the fire, as it were. It makes me want to produce content, but also makes me want to have these conversations and also highlight these issues that people have. So I appreciate that. Repair ambulance. Harley has become a luxury brand per new CEO, same as Adidas. With that, parts are super expensive. Ask me how I know. How do you know that? How do you know? They charge over £100 an hour to fix your, $100 an hour to fix your bike. I can't afford a new one. Well, many people can't. That's the thing. Or many people can't afford to get it repaired if it starts going wrong. But some bikes never have major issues, and again, it does come down to how you're riding it, how you're maintaining it, and if you're lucky as well. There's lots of issues here. Interesting. So the part shortage could be related to the decrease in reliability of Harleys. I don't know. This is a guess. I don't know. There's got to be some kind of statistic out there where they know that there's a problem with their reliability. And I've just said about, let's just take one particular component, the instrument modules on the Softails and the Taurus. If they're steaming up, then in comparison to all other motorcycle brands, they don't have problems with their instrument module. For example, their instrument cluster, it's only Harley Davidson's. Therefore, there's a greater demand for that part. And if they're not producing that part quick enough, or they haven't got to the root cause of the problem, then there's an issue, isn't there? There's an issue. King Cracker, hello. Labour charge at my local Harley dealer is $140 an hour, and I have 97 Softail and a 2003 Softail, and they really don't even want to work on them. Found a good mechanic, plenty of aftermarket support. Okay, so again, I made a video about this the other day, that a lot of dealerships now all over the world depending where you are, of course, they are reluctant to work on older bikes, right? They're reluctant to work on them, not necessarily because they can't or they're unable, but it might just be inefficient for them to do so. It might be inefficient in terms of a business sense for them to do so. So yeah, you go to your an independent mechanic, let's say an independent workshop, and then they can work on your bike. They might specialize in the older bikes, let's say. So great, that's exactly who you want. You want somebody like that. Then they'll they've got their own parts suppliers as well. But again, they might say to you, well, look, you're talking about older bikes here, and you're talking about bikes that warranty issues and having to have Harley Davidson parts on it is not a factor. Okay, you just want your bike fixed, so you can say, right, aftermarket parts, yeah, I'll have that, or I'll have that. I want the best part, or I want something that works, that kind of thing. But how could they fix it? How could they, Harley Davidson, how could they fix this issue? Well, I think they need to be honest with themselves. They need to acknowledge that that there's something that people are facing on a regular basis. And it's not just here in the UK. It happens, everywhere. It happens everywhere. You hear these stories all the time, and people are, having to wait a long time. And my question is this: why are they having to wait at all? Why are they having to wait at all? Why are they waiting 3, 4 weeks, 5 weeks for parts? Why? When it should be there. Okay, I'm not saying it should be instant, like, oh, there, it's on the shelf. I'm certainly not saying that at all. But what I'm saying is, why aren't there? Why aren't parts available? If it is indeed a problem, as a mass problem, if it is a problem, why is it a problem? Are they even asking the right questions? Are they even trying to rectify this? And you've got to assume that they're not trying to rectify it, or they're not addressing it properly, because this has been going on for years. Well, if it's been going on for years, then obviously they're not rectifying it, are they? They're not sorting out the problem. But let us know your thoughts in the chat or in the comments after the video. After if you're watching it later, what could be the solution here? Well, the solution is, it's a multi-pronged approach solution, isn't it? They've got to make a better quality product. They've got to make sure that the parts suppliers to them, wherever they're being made, are making them to a better standard. Okay, whether they're being made in the United States or whether they're being made abroad in different countries, what are the standards? It's got to be maybe a much better quality control, much better R&D, and much better testing of these products as well. So in terms of these product suppliers or parts suppliers, they've got to be held more accountable. They've got to just improve their quality, and they've also got to acknowledge when there's a problem. So if there is a problem, or if they see a sudden spike in demand for certain parts, then they're going to have to produce a lot more, or they're going to have to do factory recalls, or which they don't want to do. But it's very rare that they do factory recalls. And I got a video coming out about this as well. Now, you expect it on a new bike, right? You expect recalls on a new bike and upgrades on a new bike, because that's the nature of the beast. In Pan America, let's say, they had some problems with their screens as well. But ongoing problems that they don't really want to acknowledge, like the oil sumping, oil pumps, oil transfers, they're really slow in dealing with that. And also, you got all these bikes running around, with still the old oil pumps. And say, actually, why isn't there a factory recall on those oil pumps, those old ones? Why haven't they called me to say, Alf, you've got a 2019 Sport Glide, on that particular serial number, there is the older style oil pump, and it's not the latest generation oil pump. Get in touch with the local dealership, because we're gonna send in a load of oil pumps there, and they're gonna fix it for you. Why isn't that? Because it costs money, of course. It costs money. So let's just say then I'm going around, and I had my bike pretty much stock for 2 years, and then I get oil starvation and it blows my engine, right? And it's all down to the oil pump, right? The oil pump has broken it. Now, it would have been, and it probably still is, even now, if I say, well, hold on a minute, I then have to prove to them Well, why did it have oil starvation? Well, it was the pump that wasn't man enough. Well, is it man enough? Right. If it was in warranty or out of warranty, that is a defective part. You've known it was a defective part. This has caused the engine. I'll have a new engine, please. Thanks very much. And they'll say, no, 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 we can't do that. You say, yes, you bloody well can. You say, no, no, we can't do that. You're going to have a fight on your hands, aren't you? For a defective part, a part that needed replacing, and in subsequent model years it was replaced. So if you're in that situation, logically you're going to think, well, why hasn't there been a recall? Why haven't they done that? Why haven't they fixed these parts? Why are they causing? Why is the inferiority of their products causing such a high demand? Why aren't they fixing those products? Why aren't they doing more recalls to fix known issues? And so on and so forth. I have a lot of time for the M8 engine, but you cannot ignore there's been problems with the M8 engine that has caused issues in this parts availability, because people need more parts. Now, I don't know if people need more parts for M8 engines in comparison to other engines of the past, Evos, twin cams, whatever. I don't know. I actually don't know. I don't have any data to support that. But and yes, back in the day, let's say AMF years and stuff, yeah, there was lots of horror stories with those engines as well. But many people, kind of acknowledge that the I need a sip here. Many people acknowledge that the Evo was probably the engine that saved Harley Davidson in terms of reliability, in terms of design, in terms of looks and everything like that. So it's so you compare that engine and other engines, let's say, and then you got the M8 engine, and you think, well, surely they would have learned from the past of problems that they need to rectify, and they haven't rectified them. So there is issues. And part of my channel was with the Softails and the Taurus, to say, look, there's a problem here. You might want to check your bike to make sure that you haven't got it. Or there's a problem there, or I've been heard about that problem. And I get slated for it. I get, and just by bringing you ideas or stories of what people have had problems with, it doesn't necessarily mean that you'll have a problem with it. But it's something for you to be aware of and get it checked out, or check it yourself. So if you're in a situation now that you've got an M8 and you've had it for about 3 or 4 years, let's say, and we're getting into 5 years of M8 on the market with the Taurus, 4 years with the Softails as well. You're in that sort of time zone now where if something hasn't happened to your bike, it may happen soon. I don't want to be the prophet of doom, but it might be, because it's your bike's getting older now. So how long are you going to wait in? Let's just say you think right to yourself, right, what are the known problems of these bikes? Right, the known problems are XYZ. It's this, it's that, it's that. Right. How do I know that? Because people like me, Revelator Alf, have been talking about these things for a long, long time. Right. So we've been supplying you with a service and information this whole time, right? Harley Davidson haven't been doing it. The dealerships haven't been doing it. It's people like me or other outlets, let's say. They've been talking about this as information that you can know. This is how you can do something, how you can fix something, whatever, right? Then in your mind, you start saying, right, okay, I may need an oil pump, I may need an instrument module, I may need this. You can start doing your background research already. How long would I have to wait to get an instrument module now? How long would I have to get how long would I have to wait to get swing arm bearings? Is there any other place I can get swing arm bearings from? What about compensators? Okay, do I get a normal compensator, Harley Davidson compensator, or do I get something from another manufacturer, Man of War or something like that? What about a clutch, heavy duty clutch? Transmission. The third gear on the transmission problems. What about I don't know, rockers, anything like that, anything that you can think of that that there's been problems with electrical. You know, okay, what about ECM, BCM, ABS module, right? What about that? How quickly would you be able to get an ABS module for your bike? Let's just say. So there's lots and lots of issues, and there's lots of information that you could have had now. And this is one of the reasons I stopped producing the Harley Davidson technical videos, how-tos, what's this going to, because I thought, you know what, there's so much of it now. And, you know, people can, you know, find out about this themselves. But, you know, I could have made, and I could still make now, Harley Davidson technical fix videos, let's say. I can make 5 a day, 10 a day, easy, easy. You know, very small, quick videos, let's say. But yeah, there's so many problems, or not problems, that's the wrong word, but so many things to discuss and highlight. You'd be amazed. You'd be amazed. And because I'm, you know, fortunate or unfortunate, I get this information that comes to me, that I'm in a privileged position, let's say, to have that information. Now, sometimes, you know, it's just a one-off incident. So you've got to be careful about talking about stuff that is just a one-off incident. But sometimes you see a pattern emerging. Well, if I'm seeing a pattern emerging, then surely the dealerships and the company are seeing it. And what annoys me most is that if you ever go to a dealership, or people have told me they go to a dealership and they say, there's a problem with this bike, like the Softail shock, rear shock, right? And then the dealership say, oh, I've never heard this before. What do you mean you never heard this before? This is a well-known issue. This is a well-known issue in your country. This is a well-known issue in, you know, that part of the world. How is it you don't know? Because maybe, honestly, they honestly do not know, because they just don't know, or maybe they just don't want to know, or maybe they're just not admitting that they know that there's a problem. So, you know, there's lots of charlatans out there. There's lots of people who at dealerships and within the company say, no, it's not a problem. No, it's not a problem. Yes, it is. It is a problem. So it's a problem with your quality control, your production, your original parts, yeah, the OEM parts, the original manufacturer of the bike as well. Problems with that. You're getting bikes now, they're going to be 4 or 5 years old now, and they may start having problems that you've not encountered before. And so how are you going to have the parts? Are the parts going to be there, or are you having to wait 4 or 5 weeks, 2 months? You know, in some cases, some parts of the world, people can only ride 3 or 4 or 5 months of the year because of weather, let's say. And so they put them away for, you know, 6 months of the year. Well, if you're having to put your bike away for 6 months a year, and you're having to wait 3 or 4 months for it to be fixed, let's say, you might find a situation where you're not even riding your bike all year. So you've just spent, you know, 20 or 30,000 pounds, let's say, a few weeks ago, a couple of years ago, let's say, on a machine that you can't even use. How nuts is that? How nuts is that? There we go. I import my parts from Jersey HD. Easier to get parts from Europe than a local South African HD dealership, or from HD in the USA. Got 4 Harleys and have ex-HD master mechanic work on my bikes. Brilliant. Well, that's even better. Yeah, Jersey HD. They do. I've got parts from them as well. The island and the Channel Islands. So they go. Yeah, you might have to pay extra for the shipping and all that sort of stuff, but you might get them quicker. Sometimes they haven't got the parts, but it really depends, you know. But, you know, there's always places, and this is what I would always say when people say, you know, I'm having to wait, you know, weeks and weeks and weeks for my bike in the dealership, or the bike or dealership won't release my bike. Just say, okay, fine, I get that. I understand that, and I understand that they might be having a problem with getting your parts, but what are you doing about it? What are you doing? Are you just accepting it and saying, okay, God, and I'm going to moan about it and I'm not going to do anything? Or are you going to say, right, I'm going to find these parts myself, you son of a bitch. I'm going to find these parts. And that's what I would do. I'd be like, right, okay, you keep on trying to search for these parts, and I want regular updates from you, or I'm going to hound you every couple of days. Have you found those parts? Have you found those parts? Right? With phone calls or whatever. And I'm going to be doing the same. I'm going to be phoning around dealerships. I'm going to be asking, you know, doing online searches. I'm going to be, you know, contacting anybody I can contact to see if they've got this part available. You know, I would get the part numbers off the dealership. I say, I want all the part numbers listed of everything that I need, and I want to search for this myself. you know. And I wonder how many people go to those lengths. You know, so you know, I know some people might say, well, I don't know what I'm talking about. I don't know what to do. I don't know what to ask. And I get that. I completely understand that. But at the same time, you might have to force yourself just to get these parts, you know, or try and search for these parts yourself, you know. Harley's doing the same as car industries. Older parts today and install them tomorrow, so there are less parts in stock. Yeah, look, again, this is again what I said before, where they've sort of streamlined their parts supply business as well. Yes, but unlike other manufacturers, I don't believe that other manufacturers have the high demands on parts like Harley Davidson riders do. You know, for stock parts, this is. I've got a feeling that there's a lot more stock parts demand for Harleys because of issues that they've had or issues that they continue to have, and they haven't addressed those. And they should address those. They should address those. But I mean, let us know. Let us know in the comments afterwards. You know what you think about that. But you know, the thing is, I suppose you've got to ask yourself, what is an acceptable time to wait for your parts? Now, I don't know. I don't know what is an acceptable time to wait. I don't know. It could be a week. It could be 2 weeks. It depends. It depends what it is. You know, I remember I had to take my car in for a recall. No, not a recall. It was a problem with it. It was leaking oil. They had my car for, I think it was 3 or 4 weeks. I can't remember. And the reason it wasn't for parts, it's just they didn't have the tool. It was because it was a new engine and they didn't have this specific tool. They had the tool, but it disappeared. So they had to wait a few weeks for the tool to arrive. It was absolutely insane. And I was just waiting, what the hell is going on here? You don't even have the tool to fix the car. It's just insane. You know, this is a main dealership, by the way. This is a main Ford dealership for my truck. Not my car, my truck, I meant. You know, so if they don't even have the tool to be able to do the job, then, you know, that's one of the reasons, isn't it? But I don't know, you know, 3 or 4 weeks it was sorted out. But, you know, again, yes, they gave me a courtesy van and I was driving around in that for a few weeks. So it was no major problem. But again, you still want your vehicle fixed, don't you? You know, you don't want to be driving around in a rental vehicle or whatever. You know, a vehicle that, you know, they just lent you, you know, whatever. You know, you want your own vehicle, don't you? And it's the same with your bike. You want your own bike. You want to ride your own bike. That's the whole point and get the bloody thing. You want to ride your own bike. So how long do you have to wait for your parts? And again, I say this again, if your bike is still rideable, that's not a problem. You can just wait. You know, you can wait for your new parts, all right. You know, but if it's a problem that you can't ride your bike, whether it's a structural thing, whether it's a suspension thing, a brake thing, whether it's an engine thing, let's say, whether it's an electronic thing, whatever reason, it's not safe to ride your bike, or you can't ride your bike, you physically, it just won't start, whatever, then how long do you have to wait for your parts? What is acceptable? 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 5 weeks? You know, just keep on going up. How long? There are people I know out there. Sarge, who was on yesterday or the day before, he's been waiting months on problems with his bike, damage that was caused after a drive belt snapped, damage to his pulleys, after he had the tires changed at a dealership. A week later, the belt snapped, right, caused all this damage. The dealership don't want to know, or the company don't want to know. Nobody's talking to him. Nobody's answering his calls. Nobody's answering his emails. Nobody's coming back to him regarding getting this fixed under warranty, you know, having them fixed under warranty because it's their problem they fixed. Nobody's owning up to it. So you know, this goes again. This is on top of the parts issue. It's the attitude of the company and those who have worked on your bike to say there's a problem. But I've experienced this before as well. I took an old car in to have worked on it, and then I came back and it's had a leak in the the fuel filter. I went back to them and said, "Oh, there's a puncture hole in my fuel filter." They said, "Oh no, it wasn't us. It wasn't us." So you know, you kind of having a standoff with them, saying, "Well, hold on a minute. I've just picked it up. I didn't have a fuel leak before. Now I've got a fuel leak. That's you." And they said, "No, it wasn't. You have to prove it." I thought, do you know what I mean? It's the attitude. You got no chance. You got no chance. There we go. I bought my bike in February, still waiting on my cruise control. Yeah. You know, how long are you going to have to wait for that? Crazy. I'm glad I did my own bars, cables, etc. Yeah, and look, again, if you, the problem is, if you can do this yourself, then I would say do it. Because those kinds of things aren't going to affect your warranty for us. And okay, this is pre FTC ruling, but I'm saying now. But if you can show that nothing's been done, you haven't broken anything, you haven't damaged anything, you just changed like for like, then yeah, you just do it yourself. But obviously, not all people riding the bikes are electrically or mechanically inclined. They can't all do it. They can't all fix everything themselves. That's why they need mechanics or dealerships, whatever. So there's more and more people who can't do that. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. I'm just saying that's the state of play. People don't necessarily want to work on the bike. They don't enjoy it. Let's say they don't want to get their hands dirty, or they don't, they can't be bothered. They haven't got the time. And time. I definitely understand that one as well. Definitely, that's a big thing. Working on your own bike, finding a solution. Yeah, it could be the most efficient way of doing it. And this is one of the reasons I started my channel. One of the reasons I started doing the content that I do or have been doing the last few years on the channel was to try and highlight that these are issues that certain bikes can have, and here's an issue, and here's a way of fixing it, or here's a way of addressing it, or here's a way of checking for it, or making adjustments, that kind of thing. And this is why I brought all this information out about known issues or known problems, and say, look, be aware of this. This is information. Nobody's telling you this. You're not going to get this from a dealership. You're certainly not going to get this from, the fanboy cheerleaders from Harley Davidson. You're not going to get it from the company. But I'm telling you, these are experiences. And this whole parts supply, parts backlog debacle has been going on way too long. And these are easy fixes for the company to do, in my opinion. Yes, they need restructuring. Yes, it needs willpower. Yes, it needs a commitment to do it. But they are easy fixes to do. In that you just increase or ramp up the amount of parts availability and the system to supply those parts, and you invest in staff to get those parts distributed all over the world, right? But primarily, you've got to stop you've got to plug the hole in the boat, haven't you? That's why you've got to stop the problems with the original parts in the first place. And yes, people could say, well, the M8 engine, for example, it's a relatively new engine. Well, in some ways, I agree with that, but it's still a 4 or 5 year old engine now. The first year, second year, yeah, you would expect the problems with that, and they did have that. Like, let's say with the Revolution Max engine now, there's a few issues with that, a few issues with the Pan America, especially. Sports Stress, I think, has had a few niggles here and there. Nightster, again, yeah, I've heard of a few niggles here and there as well, a few issues. Not major, but the Pan America has just had a few electrical, screen, and a few other issues as well. I just personally think there are lots of frailties on those Revolution Max engines, the way they're designed, or the way the radiator is there, and again, problems with voltage regulators. Just why Harley Davidson have this voltage regulator down there is just beyond me. It's just too exposed. It doesn't need to be there. It's too exposed. But this causes a problem. It causes a high demand for parts, and maybe this is the reason they got a parts backlog or parts supply issue outside of what's going on right now in supply chains. That they've always had this problem because people demand more parts. So let's just say, for example, this is the other way that they could help support these parts. And they won't do it. I know they won't do it because it's probably an unworkable suggestion. But what about they say, right, we cannot supply your part within a week, right? For whatever reason, we cannot supply. However, we've got a Screaming Eagle part that we can give you, and we will fit that for free. That's all it is. Okay, that if it's a warranty work, we'll supply that for free. If, let's say, your bike is out of warranty and it needs a new part, you say, right, well, we don't have that part, but we'll give you the Screaming Eagle part for the same money, right? Or we'll give you the S&S part for the same money as the Screaming Eagle part or the stock part, whatever it is. In other words, they make it so that they're giving you an alternative, a quick fix for your alternative, and it doesn't hurt you financially. And maybe that's just a wishful thinking, but I think there are solutions to this. They could fix the problem. They fix their their supply system. So their parts production, their parts suppliers, their distribution system. They can sort all this out relatively quickly. Okay. But they could also sort out the quality control on their bikes so that people don't need these parts. And also they could support a system where they will pay for alternatives or give you alternatives aftermarket parts for the same price as well. Therefore, people are not just waiting for weeks on end for parts, and their bike is dead in the water basically, or dead at the dealership, let's say. But anyway, there we go. Right, it's just got a couple of final comments here. It's not just parts that are delayed. I went to my local HG dealer on the weekend, interested in ordering the new lowrider S. I was told if I order now, I may be lucky to get it in September. Yeah, again, but this bike delays are another major issue as well, aren't they? But yeah, they are definitely delayed on that. But that's been happening. I mean, again, that is a knock-on effect of the last sort of 2 or 3 years. A lot of this is down to companies also not being able to get staff as well. It's a major talking point in this country, in the UK right now, of so many companies, businesses, small businesses, large businesses, not being able to get staff. They just don't have the staff. And part of it is because of the knock-on effect of COVID and, people not wanting to work or not able to work and all that sort of stuff. Part of it, a big part of it as well, depends on which industry you're talking about. It's the availability of a workforce that was normally done by people from Europe or other parts of the world. Well, because of Brexit, that doesn't happen anymore. And so, there isn't that workforce there to do it. So So now they're trying to talk about, okay, maybe we let people in from Europe again, or maybe we come, try and get European people on visas. It's just so, you kind of go, you create a problem, or the system, the change in the system created a problem. Now you're trying to rectify it by reintroducing the old system. So there we go. I went to school for working on them after 21 years in law enforcement for my own knowledge. If it's not a major failure, I'll do it myself and invest in a serviceman. Yeah, that's always, or watch my videos. No, but you're absolutely right. Just, have a go. Absolutely. The electronics is the hardest thing to fix without proper computer software. And this is what they're criticized for. Harley Davidson were definitely criticized for that they make that working on their bikes incredibly difficult or virtually impossible to have full diagnostics and full interrogation of the electrical system without having the what the technicians have at the dealerships, the digital technician 2, that is linked to Harley Davidson central hub so that they can have all the information at hand, whereas you and I, let's say, or an independent workshop doesn't have that level. As independents, as home mechanics, we certainly don't have that. That whilst there are systems in place, software that gives you limited interrogation, you don't have the full interrogation. And independent workshops, they have a little bit more, but they don't have, or certainly they can have a lot more, but they cost them thousands and thousands of pounds, dollars, or whatever it is, But anyway, listen, let us know your thoughts on this. Let us know your thoughts on part supply. If you had any major issues, how long have you waited? You know, you've heard my solutions. What would be your solutions? You know, what can happen out there that would improve the situation? You know, could this FTC ruling, you know, in fact, I mean, I went into a dealership. I think I talked about it in a previous video or live stream. I went into a dealership on the day after the FTC ruling, and they were still singing the same old song about, you know, guarantees and warranties and not honoring warranties because there might be an issue if I fit this component myself. And I just think, you know, no, the message obviously isn't coming down, isn't rolling downhill, is it? You know, but there we go. Let us know your thoughts. Anyway, but listen, I'm going to get out of here. I'm going to go and do a bit of other stuff. Maybe go ride my bike a little bit more. And why not? Hope you have a blessed day and all that kind of stuff. Thanks for all the support again. Thanks for all the comments. Thanks for all the live chat as well. Good to see you all in here. And yeah, and look, if you want to support the channel in any way you can with those super thanks at the end of the below the video, or you know, on the website you can support via that, like crowdfunding, PayPal, or just, you know what, you don't have to do anything, just enjoy, watch, and hopefully spread the word about the channel and get more people to watch it as much as you can. That'd be very much appreciated. But more subscribers, more likings, and more sharing, more comments, everything helps. Everything helps on these channels to improve them and get them better. And the bigger you get, the more content you can get, and the more diverse content you can get as well. Right, catch you again. Enjoy the rest of your day. Ta-da then.